What is up, everybody? I am NerdRage36, and so in my Kingdom Hearts video I did not too long ago, I mentioned that I was currently playing the Zelda DS games, and I know that these have a lot of mixed reception and even controversy surrounding them, but I honestly had a lot to talk about regarding these two games, and I just wanted to share my thoughts. I mean, yeah, these are old, but I mean, I collect retro. Retro is because it's been the new hotness for a while, but retro really is coming back in a big way. So honestly, what even is relevancy anymore? I just want to talk about stuff. But yeah, so I think we're just going to start off with the elephant in the room, and that is the touch controls. These games are entirely controlled with the touchscreen. No button controls outside of the pause menu. And admittedly, they are a mixed bag. I mean, first of all, one of the big things is recommendation: get a screen protector. Like, just get a screen protector. I know those are kind of hard to come by for like DS or 3DS, but I'm sure some retro stores will still carry them, or you could probably order them online. But even before I was able to get my hands on a proper screen protector, I even switched up to this iPad stylus with the rubber tip, and yeah, I did not want to wreck my 3DS screen. So yeah, obviously there's a problem there. Another problem is the fact that, yeah, trying to move around with the stylus and using the stylus for the different tools you can equip, that gets very cumbersome, especially since, so in the game you have this little bubble off in the corner where the tool that you currently have equipped is there. Like, it's mapped to that little bubble, and you need to stop moving, tap the bubble, and that equips it, and then use the touch screen to use the specific tool, which it's fine when you're just solving puzzles and taking things slowly, but when you're in the middle of combat and you need to use a specific item like on an enemy, that gets really cumbersome really fast, especially if you need to dodge out of the way or something. And you also need to click the bubble again to dequip your item. So if you're trying to get out of the way, you need to let go of the screen, tap the bubble a second time, move, tap the bubble. It just gets really cumbersome, especially when on top, if you get used to having to do that in the middle of combat, but then you get hit. Getting hit also will dequip your item, but you won't notice it right away. So it's like I'm trying to use the tool to fight a certain enemy, get hit by something off screen, and get knocked back. And it's oh crap, tap the button again, but that then re-equips the item, so you can't move. Yeah, admittedly, that is very cumbersome. Ideally, if I could have gone back to the development of this game, I would have recommended, hey, how about map the tools to the D-pad? We're not using the D-pad to move around, so have one tool on each direction. You hold the direction to equip it, and then let go of it to dequip it. So that way, if you need to dodge, you could just let go of the directional button and still use the touchscreen. And that'd be a lot smoother, a lot more intuitive. And yeah, that is admittedly the biggest issue with these games. However, you can get used to it. It was just it's just the most obvious and most well-known criticism of this game, and yeah, admittedly, I do have that same criticism, but that doesn't mean that the entire both games, the entire experience is ruined. It's it's difficult. You need to get used to it, but admittedly, I'm trying not to sound like I'm coping, but it's I was able to beat both of these games. I got used to the controls. I even liked some of the controls in various instances. So I'm just trying to point out, like, yes, obvious criticism. Everyone acknowledged it about these games back in the day, and there's still an issue, but not a game-breaking issue. And also, in a lot of ways, the touchscreen controls do have a lot of benefits, like everyone talks about the boomerang. The boomerang controls with stylus controls is just the best. Like, it is like the touchscreen was made for boomerang controls, and like puzzle solving with the boomerang was just awesome. Also, tapping an enemy to automatically jump attack in their direction, that is incredibly intuitive. And honestly, like, it's funny when some people say that like Z targeting in most Zelda games is like, oh man, like, I understand it was the first of its kind, but wow, this is really bad. Like, first of all, I don't even, what games were they playing, but whatever. But like, if Z targeting doesn't always work, like tapping an enemy to auto jump attack towards it, that works perfectly. It is honestly like just great. Like, honestly, that is one of the better uses of the touch controls, in my opinion. And then there's also like drawing on the map, like for puzzle solving. Again, that is incredibly intuitive and one of the best implementations of the touchscreen controls. Like the boomerang, the map feature, and in my opinion, jump attacking, those work great with touch controls. Admittedly, like, the big issue with the touch controls really is in the middle of sort of like a big combat encounter. And admittedly, those aren't 100% common in, just Zelda games in general. I mean, yeah, there are plenty of like large groups of enemies, but like, let me put it this way. If this was a Dynasty Warriors game that used touch controls, then I'd have a problem. But it's just whenever those moments occur is when the problem is most obvious. Every other moment in the games, it's fine. It's doable. But of course, that is the biggest issue with both of these games, and I just need to get it out of the way. Now moving on to individual games, and I'm going to start with some of the issues. Obviously, I'm going to start with some of the problems with them. Starting off with, of course, Phantom Hourglass. Now, I think I have mainly two problems with this game, like two fairly substantial problems. Actually, I will start off with, I know a lot of people don't like the Temple of the Ocean King. And yeah, the time limit on it is really bad. Like that was an issue. Although, and I don't know, and like, this is just a way around it. It's not necessarily a, you can't exactly apply this to everyone, but this is just what I did. Because of the way my work schedule is, and my free time to play games, every night I would reach, while I was playing this game, I would reach the point where you got to go down into the Temple of the Ocean King, stop, save the game, close my 3DS, and then go to bed. And then the next night is when I would tackle the Temple of the Ocean King. And then as soon as I got out of it, save, shut my 3DS, go to bed, and then the next night, just play the rest of the game normally. So I would just say the best way to tackle the Temple of the Ocean King is to space out your play sessions. Like, dedicate a single play session for every time you go through the Temple of the Ocean King. It's not going to fix the problems people have with it, but it's going to make them a lot more manageable. So that is an issue, but I found a way around it. I don't know if anyone else would, but whatever. Next problem that I have with this game is, for a sequel to Wind Waker, the color scheme in this game is incredibly bland. Like, a lot of the islands all look the same. I mean, there's that one ice island that looks different, but it's just the one example. The grass texture is very faded looking, and it's just it is very dull. The color scheme is very dull. But and even with the Goron levels, it's just sand. The Goron Island is just sand. like there isn't even any darker colors in a lot of places, and it just feels it doesn't hold up like to Wind Waker's art style. Now graphic wise, like I know a lot of people, it's like, oh, it's so angular, and it's like, it's the DS, so I don't hold that against it. I don't really care how the graphics are, unless they are completely unlike perceivable, and you can't really play it because of that. But it's fine. I just think of the lack of a vibrant color scheme is a problem, just because, again, it's following Wind Waker. And actually, I will that got addressed later, but I'll talk about that later on. But yeah, and the final issue I really have with this game is Tetra, because Tetra in Wind Waker is one of the best versions of Zelda, and she doesn't do anything in this game. She doesn't even get she gets captured. It's like, it really sucks, because like actually fighting Ganon at the end of Wind Waker with Zelda by your side, that was a lot of fun, and that was really cool. And then just for the direct sequel to like have nothing for her to do is an issue. But again, like that got addressed later on. I don't know if you can tell, but I really want to start talking about Spirit Tracks, but I got to talk about Phantom Hourglass first. So yeah, those are indeed problems with the game. But I still think this was a lot of fun. I do think like the exploration, like exploring in Wind Waker was very exploring in Wind Waker, like having direct control over the boat was a blast. And this has a lot less control over the boat, but honestly, it's like still being able to map out your route, and like mapping out your route and not having to focus on where you're going, and like actually allowing you to focus on areas around you. Like, it's like, oh, do I gotta attack something? It's like, oh, is there a treasure over here? It's like removing control from the boat gives you more, like emphasizes more the, how do I put this? I guess kind of the adventure aspect, because you are like, now it's like, oh, there's an enemy over here. Oh, there's a treasure chest over here. Oh, I never saw that island before. So like, because you're not focusing on controlling the boat directly, it allows you to look around a lot more, if that makes any sense. That's an interesting implementation of it. I also think that bringing back fairies, like even though the fairy system was literally just like so that you could look at, like you had a point of reference for your stylus, but the fact that like a lot of the like fairies were a huge part of Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask, and yet like most of the games actually pretty much every game afterward, like you don't actually use the like the helper fairies. And that's kind of disappointing. I honestly really liked the use of the helper fairies in this game. And like I said before, with the controls segment for both of these games, I do think the puzzle design is really cool. I think like the use of the boomerang and stuff, and like puzzle solving with like drawing on the map, like it. This game is admittedly a mixed bag, but I still think it's good. But I do understand the problems people have with it. I don't know how often I might want to go back to this particular Zelda game, but it might be like, anytime I want to play Wind Waker, I'll follow it up with this. But how often am I going to do that? I'm not sure. But admittedly, it's a mixed bag, but still a good game, and I know plenty of people like it. It's just like, it was good. It was good, but there are definitely a lot of problems with it. And I can't not acknowledge the problems, but I did still have a lot of fun with this game, and it's just, I don't know. Am I saying anything that anyone hasn't already said? I don't know. But ultimately, I am running out of stuff to talk about with this specific game because I want to talk about Spirit Tracks now. I don't know if you can tell, but I had a blast with Spirit Tracks. Like, a lot of the problems I had with Phantom Hourglass are alleviated in this game. And I already thought Phantom Hourglass was fun. This is even better. So, starting off with the color scheme in this game. So much more vibrant, so much more colorful and detailed. Like, I think it's because in this game, you have more freedom to move around the map. So, like, the programmers needed to make sure every, like, square inch of the water was traversable. Whereas in this one, you're limited to the tracks. So, the traversal has been cut down, but that gave them a chance to, like, fully expand the overworld design-wise. And so much of this game just looks breathtaking. Like, again, DS graphics, gotta keep that in mind. But the environments, like the overall design and colors, they just look great, honestly. Actually, the ocean realm in this game, the beach level, how is it that 1/4 of this game was infinitely more vibrant and colorful and tropical theme than a direct sequel to Wind Waker? Like, seriously, 1/4 of this game is a beach level, and it looked amazing. It looked great. Not even including the part when you go under the water. Yes, there's a part in this game where you go under the water, and my jaw dropped when I saw that moment. That was just really cool. Like, the environments in this game are so much more interesting and so much more, like, worth exploring and just better in every way, because it, like, again, much more colorful, much more detailed when you're exploring in the overworld. And then when you get into the actual adventuring and the dungeons and stuff, those are really cool too. Like, honestly, I can't think of a bad dungeon in this game. Even the water temple was cool. Like, the water temple, and again, the use of the boomerang was awesome. Like, using, like, fire and ice, like, elements to solve puzzles with the boomerang. Yeah. I'm getting a little ahead of myself, though, because I do have a few issues with this game. Starting off with, I did think that when they introduced the character Byron, I believe his name is, the dude with the metal arm, I thought he was going to be more frequent in the game. I thought it was going to be like a Girahim situation where you have, like, mid-boss encounters with Byron in every dungeon. But, like, he's introduced at the beginning. You see him in towards the end of the game and you actually start interacting with him more. But, like, there is so much of this game where you don't see the villains whatsoever. And that is honestly kind of disappointing. Another disappointment was, in my opinion, I thought that there'd be more uses of the Phantom armor for Zelda. Like, I didn't expect her to be walking around in the armor everywhere, but I was at least hoping to have, like, some use of the Phantom armor in, like, the main dungeons and not just the central dungeon. Admittedly, the central dungeon is so much better than the Temple of the Ocean King. The Tower of Spirits is better than the Temple of the Ocean King because, one, there's no time limit, and two, you don't have to go through each, like, sub-dungeon to get to the next one. Like, there's a central point that expands into each explorative, like, actual puzzle dungeon area before the next floor. And then the next floor gets added, and then you just go up in the central area to the next puzzle dungeon. So that's a lot better than having to go through Honestly, though, if the Temple of the Ocean King didn't have that time limit to it, I would not have a problem with it, really, honestly. It's just having, like, each section of the Tower of Spirits be its own thing instead of needing to go from one to the other every time a new floor gets added. that was already just better in general. But again, with the Phantom Armor, I expected there to be more uses of it. Although the very last floor of the Tower of Spirits is a very substantial dungeon and very it was the full length dungeon that I was hoping to be able to use the Phantom Armor for Zelda in. That I was hoping that would be throughout more of the game. But hey, you got it. You got it in the central dungeon, and there was an entire segment of that central dungeon that was basically the full length of a regular ass dungeon. So credit where it's due. I just wanted there to be more. Actually, I'll be getting back to the Phantom Armor in a sec, but the other problem is the Spirit Flute. Now, believe it or not, I actually didn't mind the Spirit Flute when you're using it to cast spells and solve puzzles. Honestly, I like the fact that they used it in such a way for puzzle solving, like the Ocarina and the Wind Waker. Admittedly, they're as cool as much as people like to associate Zelda games with using musical instruments. There's actually not a whole lot of them. I mean, Phantom Hourglass didn't even have the Wind Waker in it. It's I feel like there really could have been more uses of musical instruments, especially when Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask emphasized it so much for the first 3D outing. It's weird. It's honestly really weird. But the Spirit Flute, it works when you're casting spells and using it to solve puzzles. Where I have a problem with it is when you're trying to keep rhythm with another character. When you actually need to use it like a rhythm game. That gets really annoying because sometimes you'll be on perfect timing, but they'll still say, no, do this. But sometimes you'll be completely off timing and you'll think, oh, crap, I gotta do it again. And then you pass. It's it is really inconsistent when you're trying to play alongside another character. Now, I know some people are probably going to say, oh, blowing into the mic is so weird and gimmicky. Yes. But it is the DS, and I can't fault them too much for wanting to utilize the hardware. I mean, for crying out loud, if they had done a Mario 64 DS with Ocarina of Time, if they pulled that, I guarantee you they would have had the ocarina be played by blowing into the mic and maybe moving it up and down to switch notes instead of side to side with the Spirit Flute. Don't get me wrong, that would have been really cumbersome. That would have been a obvious gimmick. But I gotta respect them. Well, they didn't do that. But the concept is yeah, they would have absolutely done that if they wanted to. So I'd give them at least some props for sticking to their hardware. And it's you know what? When it works, it works. When it doesn't work, But admittedly, it's not too bad because I was able to beat this game despite that problem. It was just kind of frustrating whenever I had to play the Spirit Flute like a rhythm game instead of just blowing into the mic at my own pace and letting the spells cast on their own. That was a diatribe. Anyway, but yeah, Spirit Flute is a mixed bag. It works in the overworld, doesn't work when you're trying to play it alongside another character. But back to the Phantom Armor. Admittedly, I did kind of roll my eyes at that one bit where Zelda's I'll stay behind. That's what princesses do, right? I get it, this is Zelda's first playable debut, but did they really have to, call it out like that when, in all honesty, I don't think back when this game came out, people were, so much memeing on Zelda being the damsel in distress, especially because in a lot of... Honestly, there are more Zelda games where she's actually proactive and doing shit than there aren't. I just think people emphasize that too much. Admittedly, that is where I think Echoes of Wisdom kind of did it a lot better because they just don't acknowledge it. no one ever says, "Oh wow, the princess is doing XYZ." No, they're just like, it's just the way the game is. However, I did roll my eyes at that moment. But that led to a very interesting character arc for Zelda. Cuz like she wasn't sure if she could go on the adventure at the beginning. It's like, I'll wait here. And then she possesses phantom armor and she's like, "Ugh, this is weird." But then, like, as you go throughout the game, as she possesses more armor, and as, like, whenever she asks, like, and it's like, "We're gonna do this, right, Link?" And like, Link encourages her, like, she gains more confidence. Like, she starts getting used to the armor more often, and becomes a lot more spunky, kind of like. This is honestly one of my favorite iterations of Zelda. She's just as sassy as Tetra was in Wind Waker and Skyward Sword Zelda, but like also proactive when you like, because not only does she possess the armor, but she's also like, she talks throughout the game when you're talking to characters who can see her. So it's like, it's not just a gameplay mechanic and it's not just a plot device. It's a fully organic part of the game. Again, I just wish there were more moments with the phantom armor. But the fact that she does go from being so unsure of like going on the adventure to like charging ahead, like Link by her side, that is just so cool and so stinking cute as well. Like, this game is like if Minish Cap Zelda gradually evolved into Tetra from Wind Waker, like throughout the course of the game, and it's really cool. Again, this is one of my favorite iterations of Princess Zelda. And so moving back on to really cool things, like, again, like the environments, like I said, the puzzle design in Phantom Hourglass was good, but starting off with that from like a base level, this was even better. Like, my God, I don't think there was a bad dungeon in this game, at least in my opinion. This was awesome. And I'm just, I don't know if you can tell, but like as disappointed as a lot of people were in these games in particular, and as much as I have my problems with Phantom Hourglass, Spirit Tracks, in my opinion, fixes most of the issues with Phantom Hourglass and does so many cool things on its own that, I'm not going to lie, this actually has become one of my new favorites in the Zelda series. Like, for Zelda's first playable debut, like, great uses of the touchscreen, admittedly, again, some very clunky ones as well, but so when this game is good, it is great. And when it's not so good, it's only just eh. But I think the positives vastly outweigh the negatives. And this is just, honestly, again, it's become one of my favorites in the series, one of my new favorites in the series. And I still gotta give props to Phantom Hourglass for setting the framework, and of course being one of the few direct sequels in the Zelda continuum. I can't hate this game too much, but Spirit Tracks, holy shit, I like this game a lot.